Hello and greetings, everyone. Mm. Welcome to our creative conversation here at Musea Intentional Creativity Museum, shared on our Musea Center for Intentional Creativity Facebook page and the Red Thread Cafe Classroom, which is our subscriber community. Oh, we're featuring emergent and exciting content, creative conversations as part of our programming for our membership and community. And I am Milagros Soriano Rivera, your host. I am the Vice President of Programming. I am a Color Woman 2019 graduate, certified in intentional creativity, as well as a guild member and co-curator for the museum. Oh, I love this time. I'm every time we come on, I'm always full of ooh. So we got some juicy things coming on, but I want to just bring you in slowly. I want to thank you for joining us and joining our community in this conversation as we explore the Wheel of the Year, which we've been doing this year. And every quarter, we've been exploring a different theme, and all from the main thread of creative sanctuary. And over the last quarter, we've been exploring the strand of creative replenishment and exploring with our membership how our creativity nourishes us and how we replenish through it, and the inquiries of what wants to be transformed and what transformation are you at cause for through your creative expressions and activism. What I'd like you to know is that for today's broadcast, I'm going to be inviting us to ground and arrive. I'm going to be making a couple of announcements about some events going on at the museum. I'm going to bring on a wonderful guest, which I'm so excited to have on, and invite you to membership. So here we go. So I want to invite you to take a big, deep breath, breathing in, allowing it to fill you from head to toe. Feel it running through your body, your heart, your chest, your tummy, your legs, down to your feet, knowing and then letting all of that go down into the earth, knowing that you're being supported, and releasing everything that you are holding before you stepped into this beautiful space that we are co creating together, and letting go of everything waiting for you on the other side of this conversation. Just breathe it out. I want to invite you to get your cuppa, a journal. That way, if anything arises for you, I want you to take notice of where it lands in your body, how it's making you feel, jot down words, draw, do some metacognitive drawing, which is basically holding the pen as you listen to the conversation and just moving it slowly, allowing it to move as it will while you just lean into whatever it is you are hearing. So that is all. That's basically thinking about thinking while holding the pen. And of course, if you have red thread, we're always connected. So I want to invite you to that sense of being connected already here in this beautiful quantum space, knowing that it is real and as real as you and I sitting together in the same room. Can you feel me? I feel you. So, with that, I want to just share that our next museum event is going to be Arts of Justice, and it's a day-long painting experience on July 11th. It's guided by curate Shiloh Sophia and co-sponsored by the Sacred Echoes of the Well by WAP membership. And this is a virtual event where we'll be featuring footage from the June 3rd Living the Truth cinema events honoring the work of Pratibha Parmar and Alice Walker, both women who use their um, their platforms and voices for activism in the arts. You'll also be creating your own Arts of Justice poster for the activism that you are a cause for. And when you purchase the virtual class, you'll be able to access the content for 6 months and show your support for women in the arts. And I love this because, the Intentional Creativity Foundation funds the museum, and it also gave Pratibha a $5,000 grant as part of that event to continue her work as a woman in the arts. And money raised through our programming allows us to continue offering um, events and programs like Living the Truth cinema events, and opens the doors for us to continue to extend additional grants to more women in the arts. So our programming is really dear to us, and it is the core of what we do and why we do it, because we want to continue to, have a space and allow and empower women to express themselves and do their work in the world through their creative expressions. Our guest today is a Color of Woman graduate, Barbara C. Daughter. And I'm going to bring her on now so that she can actually join us. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Milagros.
How are
Wonderful to be
you?
here with you. Oh, I'm fabulous. Thank you.
Wonderful. Um, so, wow.
It
Don't we do great stuff? Like, our work is so awesome. I just want to start
is.
there, right?
Right.
Like,
It is. It's so powerful.
it is so powerful, the work that we do and being in activism. And that's what I love about creativity, is that your activism, like, it really nurtures your personal activism, because before you can actually decide what your activism is, to me, when I think of activism, I always think about my personal activism to be self-expressed. And that's what, and it also informs who I am. So once you do that and you give yourself that permission and stand into that identity of, of an activist, um, then you can choose what that cause is, because you can actually tap into what matters to you, right? And all of that is
Absolutely.
going to be a lot of what we're going to be talking about. But I just wanted to take a moment to just like land there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think what you're speaking to is really like being really in touch with who we are and the fullness of who we are really allows us to be really effective in activism. And and that we choose what is the path, or what is the purpose that each of us has. And when we're really fully in touch with who we are, that makes it so much easier to connect with that.
well, speaking of who we are, how about you tell our listeners and viewers who you are?
Oh, well, it's lovely to be here with you, Milagros. And so I am Barbara Daughter, and I am a spiritual life coach. And as you said, an intentional creativity teacher and artist. And this has just been a fabulous journey that I have been on. And it really actually started in 2011, as when I was first introduced to Shiloh's work. And I didn't meet her personally, but I received a poster from a professor. I was studying women's spirituality, and I received this poster. It actually has an Alice Walker quote on it and Shiloh's image. And Alice Walker and I feel like this with Alice Walker, though we are not personal friends. Um, I remember reading The Color Purple and how much it touched me. And I was working in a bookstore and I was like selling it as much as I could. And so really it was lovely to connect with Shiloh's work and see it there. And then when I had the opportunity to go to Crete as part of my studies in women's spirituality, I met an artist named Jassy Watson, who I then saw on Facebook the next year or so, sharing the work that she was doing and learning from Shiloh. And that's how I got further connected and learned about Shiloh's offering. And so in 2014, I painted my first painting with Shiloh, and then I took Legend. Ah, that was so powerful. That was such a powerful experience. And I think that, you know, for a long time I've been one of those people that really wants to be fully myself. So, but stepping into the Legend process really started to expand my awareness of like the amazing expansiveness of who we are at a soul level. Yeah, yeah. So that was really the beginning of that part of that journey, and it's still one that I enjoyed being on today. Just like, whoa, it's beyond our imagination.
Yeah, yeah, that legend is definitely something that informs the identity a whole lot. But
Did you want to share my original Legend painting, my first Legend painting?
oh yeah, let me do that. Give me 1 second. Let's see. I haven't shared. Let's see. Present. Hold on. Hmm. All right. Give me one moment. Tell you what, I'm gonna just look for it because I wasn't ready.
Okay,
But we
that's
will
fine.
definitely bring it up. Um,
Do you
yeah,
want me?
so
Do
we're
you
gonna
have
be.
it? Because I
I do
can.
have it. I do
Okay.
have it. Yep, I do have it. I just didn't have it ready. Uh,
So maybe I can talk a little bit about identity and personality and this version of Legend while you're finding that, because I'm really just getting started with this version of Legend that's behind me. And the you know, we've talked about identity and personality and how sometimes people think they're the same thing, but it's very interesting that the roots of those words are very different.
hmm
Identity has the same root as identical, and it is about sameness. So, what is so fascinating to me is to consider, just like a what if kind of crazy notion, what if we are the same soul as when the Big Bang happened, when the cosmic orgasm happened? And this is what I'm showing you behind me. This is just the beginning of this Legend painting. But our red blood cells, right? The iron in our blood comes from the explosion of stars. So what if we existed at a soul level at the very beginning of what we think is the beginning anyway? Who knows, right? So identity is so much, we share so much, and we think we're separate, and there's not, that's not, I'm not disagreeing with that, but we share so much. And I love kind of feeling into that and feeling into how we share our red blood cells, our red thread across all eras and cultures and times and, you know, epochs of time that humans have been on this planet. And maybe our souls have been around since what, 13.7 billion years. That's crazy. And it's amazing to consider that possibility. What if we are really that expansive? And I really feel like when I dive into my painting, I get to experience just a snippet of that and really like expand the potential in me. And it's so interesting when we think about personality, the root of that word, person, actually has to do with mask. So I'm really, it's fun to have a mask on. I have a mask on today, put a little makeup on, but it's fun to, play with the masks, but not be attached to them. And that's what I really feel like Legend gives us, that opportunity to, do I want to have this mask? Is this the persona I want to have in the world, or do I want to expand that possibility? So it's really fun to be in this journey with you and with everybody else who's in the Legend process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, identity. Hmm. And I know part of the legend we've been talking about legend, and for those who don't know, legend is one of our core classes, our foundational classes, which is actually a class that was it's by the Cosmic Cowgirls, and it is a prerequisite for two of our um, certification programs. So Color of Woman, and now a class called Origins, which is going to be our next class in the university. But we bring it up because right now, Barbara and I are actually in the process of taking this current legend, which is called Archeo Futura. And it basically is exploring exactly what Barbara said, like exploring ourselves as the singularity, as the Big Bang, and thinking about the potential that's within us that is just bursting to come out into form, and all of those little strands and stars and the dust and all of these little Milky Ways and galaxies and all of the formations that take part, like our field, so it's like we're actually sort of exploring the archaeology and anthropology of the artist, how our ancestors millions of years ago had actually started creating through clay. I love that clay came first, because right now I'm working on a clay project for a beloved of mine, and it was inspired from that. I'm like, wow, clay came first before they actually started painting on the cave walls. So I love that. And to think that we're doing something that's been being done for millennia,
Millennial, yeah,
millennia,
hundreds
and,
of
and it
millennia.
hasn't changed, and the thought that these, as we've been referencing them creatures, because it was before they came into their, evolved into the Homo sapien um, uh, identity, and that part of our history. um, they were creating with intention, and it leaves you like, that means they must have been aware. They were conscious to the marks they were making and the things they were doing for a reason, and they actually were creating cave art that actually mark the stars in that time, and we can actually go back and use computer imaging, and go back and actually date it, and know exactly what season it was, what month it was, what time of the year it was, where it was. And that's really awesome that we've come that far in technology, that we can actually look back that far.
That's
So
right.
I love that. But identity is just such a big topic, and for me, um I'm feeling more comfortable with exploring it, and this has been something that I'm leaning into more, and I love it, because creativity, and especially intentional creativity, when you cultivate it as a practice and a way of being, and a path of practice, creating your being mindful and cultivating a relationship with yourself, first, and then your relationship with yourself in relation to, and in the context of who you are and what you're made of, like who lives here, and not just this representation. And for me, identity has been really, really a challenge. And I've only been exploring it technically since I've come into this community of intentional creativity, because um, I've always been in survival mode. And for me, the color of my skin was never something that I cared about. It just was, and it never bothered me until recent events. The way society is going, and um, it just never bothered me. I've always been a survival. I've always felt like I'm just me, and as I've come into and learned to lean into identity, I've been, not challenged, but made aware of the fact that just more cognizant of it, because of the community and everything, and the conversations that are coming up because of what's
Right.
going on in the world. Um, and I never thought about how it impacts me, and also, being a woman and what that means. And I was just me. And what I love about this particular legend course is that it's actually inviting us to let go of all of that, let go of this representation, this way that we chose to come into as a consciousness, right?
Right.
And this is how our particles and molecules came together. But there's so much more to me than what you see. And there's so
That's
much more to you than what I see.
that is so so true. That is so so true. I find that this circle, this container that Shiloh has created, and that we all um, that we all are lucky and fortunate to participate in, that it really allows like the Barbara underneath or Milagros underneath to come forward, and we don't have to wear a mask. We don't have to have a certain personality to be present. And then that allows us to explore, well, what else am I? What else is my consciousness telling me about me in this lifetime, and about me in my potentialities outside of this particular lifetime? And that's part of what my original legend spoke to, is called my legendary self fantasy DNA. And in that image, I have Tutupe'e, who is a volcano in Hawaii, and the volcano flows into her heart. She is on fire with this building of a new earth that is happening. When a volcano explodes, it builds new earth. She has a bird that is part of her eye and sitting on her shoulder, and the eye and the bird share an eye, and she sees things from that 10,000-foot view. She sees more than just the little parts of her life. She The water is flowing down her into her heart. She has columns from Greek times, because she's connected with the energies in those places, and so many other places where, if we just let ourselves kind of relax into it, we can imagine the lives we may have had, walking on those paths so many millennia ago. And it's okay if it's only imaginal. It's okay if it's not an actual memory. I had some really powerful experiences when I was in Crete, where I was feeling dizzy, but not dizzy. It was very strange. And I found out later that I actually had had a lifetime there that was coming up for me when I was traveling those roads.
I want to break in for a second because I was able to get it. I'm going to try to share it now. Let's see if we can get it there. Window. There she is. All right. Now you can talk. Can you see her?
Yes, I can see her. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now you can talk about her.
So in the top left hand corner, as I'm seeing her, she has the seven sisters. The Pleiades are there, so that's also, she's connecting to that greater sense of, yep. So the stars are kind of splattered there between the clouds. She is connected to a world beyond this planet, even a galaxy beyond this planet. It's or this galaxy, the Milky Way. You can see that she has a laurel on her head. It's a laurel wreath, and that's representing accomplishment. That was a way that accomplishment was noted in Greek culture. And then she's also connected to the earth. The earth is below her, and she is just growing right out of it. And the Greek columns, again, to represent powerful energies that I experienced there. and the way that the hills and the water connect to her. So you see she's got all these elements, the four elements that are part of the world that we live in: earth, air, fire, and water. These are all part of who she is. And she specifically, I specifically didn't try to represent my skin tone with her, tried to make it a little bit uh, not obscure, but just not specific. And I did that because I imagine, at least, that I have had many lifetimes and I have not been this skin color. And, honestly, as a makeup artist, this is a little bit too orange for to be anybody's skin color. But, so I wanted to not have her just confined within one cultural experience. She really
Mm,
bridges many cultural experiences. Obviously, Greece and and Hawaii are, are pretty vast, and
mhm.
again, her bird is seeing things from a much higher view.
I love that so, so much. Thank you for sharing her with us. Yeah, that sun-kissed skin, and the thought that we're made from the earth, and just we would embodying that, But she's gorgeous, and I shared with you earlier, and that I have a painting that I did, and it was actually a prayer for my aunt who was diagnosed with cancer at one point, and I decided to do a painting and painted a muse, and her name is Love Heals. And I noticed that I also, in that painting, I did the dove, and the dove is actually like her eye. So that caught my eye as well. That we both have paintings with birds as the eye, showing that we're seeing from a different perspective, which is taught a lot. Shiloh's always inviting us to do that, like instead of just seeing from here, but also connect with nature and imagine that the tree is looking at us as we're walking past, or a bird that flies over. What do they see? What is the squirrel seeing when they look at us? How is the root of the tree seeing us? So learning to look from different perspectives just really puts us in this place, where we're not just blind, just looking at potentials from every angle. And it really informs us, because when you connect to you see yourself. So you're learning to witness yourself through the eyes of nature around you. And I practice this a lot when I'm going on walks and things. And I noticed that in doing that, I see more.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I feel like ever since I was a little kid, I love to pick up rocks and look at rocks. And I used to, just pick them up and put them in my pockets. And my mom said I would put on so many in my pockets that my pants would start to fall down. So it's really fascinating to think about, these rocks, these stones, the stones that are, in your image, and I'm going to have Avebury in mind because I've been to Avebury. Um, the they've been on this planet for how long? What can they tell us? What is the vibration they're sharing with us? And especially these amazing Neolithic circles and structures. Their energy is just mind blowing. It's just mind blowing. So, and there's like many of them across many different cultures. So, if you ever have the opportunity to be in the presence, I really feel that energy. Oh, I see a
And
question here in the chat.
what gifts did the seven sisters bring to humanity?
Oh, that is such a great question.
Good question. And we might need a little time to think about that and get back on it, right? Um,
Right.
yeah. Thank you for your question. Um, my question to you is, having taken legend, that was your first legend. How was your relationship with identity the same prior to that, or what do you feel shifted for you since taking that legend?
Yeah, I think that really like seeing myself as more complex and more open to possibilities, more open to expanding and integrating. I think it's really important that we integrate the parts of ourselves, even the ones that we're like, I'm not really sure
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Let's integrate those parts. Let's own them and not shame ourselves for them. And so I think that really, that there's a really big opportunity when we do Legend and we dive in to do that. And yeah, I'm sure I would not have gone on the trajectory of becoming a colorful woman teacher, and I didn't even think of myself as an artist at the time. um, so yeah, I wouldn't have gone on a trajectory, but obviously without taking Legend because it's required. It was a huge motivation for me too.
And I can tell because one another thing we kind of have in common is I'm looking at your business name is Becoming You Arts, and I chose the name Healed Enough Arts. And it's great how when you talk about the vibration, how the businesses, the name we chose is basically like our piece that we're carrying, like
That's right.
this those sacred work we want to do. And I'm gonna what I'm going to talk more about that. Like, why did you choose that name? And I know prior to us coming together as we prepared, uh, we discussed identity and what that felt like. And I know that you were gracious enough to explore and express with me what your worldview was of identity, in preparation, and especially the political nuances on that topic. But you also mentioned something about identity being informed by what gives us the greatest vibration. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think we have to kind of dive into ourselves if we want to kind of operate at that level. So, if we're just kind of going through life, and that's fine, we might not really notice what gives us the strongest vibe. We might not notice what resonates with our deepest sense of self. And so that's part of why I have that Becoming You as my business name, and Becoming You Art. I actually added the art part because the URL was taken. I've actually used Becoming You. And when I first used that, I was making jewelry, and I first used that as a as a business name, and it was about something being flattering to you, it's becoming to you, and then also you stepping into you,
Mm.
and it's so interesting because that was decades ago when I first started that. And I really feel like the art part is letting folks know this is a tool we're going to use to help you become you. This is
Mm.
not like a skill that I'm going to teach, but this is a tool we're going to use so you can kind of dig deep and find out what are those things that resonate with you, what resonates with you at that soul level, because at that soul level, there you have that ease, there you have that flow,
Mhm.
there you have that awesomeness that you can expand into and really own. Yes.
Yes. I love all of the common threads. Okay, so it's like the jewelry making is a common thread.
That's right.
Um, the working with women and women's spirituality is a common thread for me. My first experience and exposure to like women and women's spirituality and women of the Bible and just the feminine and Sophia and wisdom. I used to work for the United Methodist Church Women's Division, and so that's the first exposure I even had to even like that's the first time I ever heard the name Sophia, and here
Mm.
I am, 30 years later, working with this,
It
working
was
with this
Shiloh
wonderful
Sophia.
person, Shiloh Sophia, and it's changed my life.
Yeah.
So it's just those little common threads, but I'm loving the threads that we're weaving together. And this is also part of identity, seeing yourself in others and noticing, um, that you're not alone
Hmm.
and that you are actually projecting out, like your energy impacts everything that you do. Your intentions actually impact the fabric of the world of creation of everything. So it's like your worldview, like what is your worldview, and when you change and shift from the inside and dive into who this is inside, and you start seeing from that perspective of soul, the world changes for you. And in that, you change, because that's what intention and creativity is about. That's what, teach in the making and the using of your hands, and you bringing energy. Thought is nothing but wave, and you're actually bringing it through the action you're taking, and you're making that energy move, that friction. And that's, and then it comes out in the pen, in the pot, the table that you set, the report that you wrote, the letter, the card that you sent someone, the sculpture that you did, the painting, the jewelry that you made. This is all, this is alchemy. It's transformation. You're actually taking energy and choosing to take an action and bring it through, and it takes form and becomes matter, right?
Absolutely.
And in
Yep.
creating that, we see it, and in seeing that, it comes back to us as energy, and it changes us, not only emotionally but also on a molecular level as well.
Yes,
And
because we shift the energy in the field,
yep.
and that can't help but shift the energy in our form.
Exactly. And if we've changed, then the world changes, because we've actually seeing it differently, because we're not the same person we were when we started,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. And it's a path, and you can choose to take it, and you can, not today, but let's do it tomorrow. Okay, that's fine. You
Exactly.
don't
Or
have
just
to,
right.
do it when it's right for you.
Choosing to be healed enough in that moment to take the action, to explore it, to be with it, to notice,
To have
but you get to
curiosity.
decide. Yeah, you get to decide.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is just like so awesome. Now, how do hmm
Hmm.
how are you feeling? How are you feeling about painting this second legend? Like, how are you taking it now compared to when you took it the first time?
That's so interesting. I really love the information that Andrew Johnstone has shared. I'm very interested in the archaeological mythologies, the archaeomythology of humanity, whether we, came from Neanderthals or however we have descended. I don't know all of the technical terms, but I'm very interested in us having a greater awareness of that, because I think it really expands our potential for the future. And the
Mhm.
key things about that, this does link in with my identity. One is that we can look at certain archaeological sites, and of course, the further back in time we go, we see less evidence or no evidence of war, no weaponry, no hierarchies, and we see evidence of equality between male and female. And so these potentials exist for humans in our future, because we've done it before. We don't have to create it like it never existed. We've done it before. And so I love that we are going back to a time, when we're looking at these cave paintings where it's like, most of these handprints are done by women and children. Hmm. Most of the very old, ancient artifacts of clay sculptures are women, fertile women. So why did humans value that? Why did humans represent that? They didn't make, megaliths or, of women. They're usually pretty small, but there are so many cultures where these existed, and they were buried with the women and the men. And so why? They honored that creative aspect. And as humans, we all have that co-creative aspect that we can bring forward in our future. And that's 20 seconds from now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like, okay, we're ready. That's
It's
okay.
really, really
Let's go.
fast. It's really
Yes,
fast.
really fast. So
Um,
I love that. And so it will be really interesting as I dive in for further portions of this course, that how it how it becomes apparent on my canvas.
Right. And I love the way having a creative practice and having this way of being and this tool, how it builds resilience for us to even be in spaces where identity is a deeper, or not deeper, but just a more conflicting thing. Like I said, we talked about the political, and it's so much going on. And when you first came on, we sort of like were like, do we really want to talk about this? But then as we connected, and you expressed what you wanted to express, and then we we said, well, it depends on the context. I understand, because you was like, okay, certain situations. I'm like, the context is about us. I want to let go of all of that outside, because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't. I don't even. It. Like I said, it was in my purview. It wasn't part of my experience, so I couldn't really speak on it. But I love that we can come to and have this conversation so lovingly, so openly, and allow it to go, because we're aware of the context, and we're actually allowing ourselves to let go of all of the other things that the external has put upon us.
Right.
And in having this conversation, we're choosing to say, that's not what's running me at this moment. In this moment, I'm
Exactly.
just totally coming from here.
Exactly.
From
That's
here.
so well said. That's so well said. So that's really why it's so important, I think, for us to do that deep dive so we can really like own who we are and not see us as, we live within the constraints of the culture that we're in or the cultures that we're in. It's not that we can I'm going into the fifth dimensional world. Well, I can't find it. So so it's not that we don't live within that constraint, but we don't have to take it on.
We
We
don't.
don't
And it
have
also,
to absorb it. We don't, and we can let go of the things that we have absorbed.
yeah.
And that's part of what I came up with during the Radiance program or course that Shiloh taught. That first you have to be curious. Next you have to be willing. Third, you can uncover those constraints that you have absorbed.
Hmm.
You can let go of the things that don't serve you, and then you can co create what you want for yourself. And
Yes.
that is
Yes.
the process I take folks through, when I'm doing that, when we're doing coaching together or whether, however, whatever process we're going through. Those are the steps that we go through.
And I love it. And I did a sculpture on that, and I'm working on doing a little offering as well on that same thing, the co-creatrix. Exploring those layers and
That's
how we
right.
can actually integrate them all, but through choice, we co-create ourselves, because we're actually taking all of this information from those different aspects of where we are in certain times or certain experiences. But all of this also allows us to be more compassionate as we see others, because now we recognize them as the identity. And when they project or they act in that way, then we also can see that they're not where we are, but we can invite them to explore this as well. And if they're not ready, then hey, whatever it is, that's your thread. That's not
That's
my
right.
piece to carry, but I see you.
That's right.
You
Yep.
know.
And we can see the fullness and the potentiality that they have.
Yes, we can see them as that singularity and say, well, you know what? This star is just not ready to happen, but it's there. It's just got to take time, you know.
That's
But
right.
I love it, and we can just hold them and send our energy, and when they're ready, then they're ready, and it's not ours to carry, but it helps us walk the world in a different way from a different space, because we get to choose what impacts us, what doesn't, how we choose to show up, how we choose to express, taking responsibility for those actions, knowing that it's going to make a difference, because we are matter and we do matter.
Yes. We are matter and we do matter.
Oh my
I
goodness.
love that. I love
Oh,
that. Well, just so funny. I love that you showed me the sculpture that you did. Actually, many years ago, I used to create these little teeny faces, and I still have some. Yes, it's gorgeous. And so what's that created from?
Actually going on my walk, seeing the world from the bird's eye, I ended up finding this stick. It was a weathered stick. So I picked it up and decided to bring it home because I saw a form in it. And I'm actually working on this as a gift for our beloved Samaya Wisdom Yates, who's the executive director of the Intentional Creativity Foundation. Um, and it's a gift for her new studio.
Oh, I love it. That's
So
beautiful.
I wanted to give it to her as an offering so that she knows that she is always held and seen. And yeah, honoring our ancestors.
That's great. So that's another overlap that we have. I'll have to show you some of my little faces later.
Yeah, we're
They're
gonna have to
so
plan a Zoom around
spoken.
that. One thing I really wanted you to share as well is because I know how profound the experience was for you. Is there was we just celebrated our solstice, right? We had our solstice ceremony, and Kathleen Brigdina did a meditation, and you shared that it was just so powerful. And I love that meditation as well because it also touches on perspective, on identity and choosing. So can you share that with us?
Well, it's I've done many meditations on being connected with Mother Earth, and just feeling grounded. And this one, she asked us to imagine ourselves as Mother Earth. I had never considered that. I had, I most often come from a place of honor and respect and love for Mother Earth, and a deep appreciation for this environment that she holds us all in, right? This is We don't take a single breath of air without the millions and millions, I don't even know how many billions of years she existed before we even got to come into form. So, I'm just so grateful for this experience with her. But then to imagine ourselves as Mother Earth, as beings that hold all this life, all this potential, all this expanse of time, cultures, eras, events, all of this. We actually can imagine that and hold that. And that, I think, helps us really touch into how amazingly beyond our imagination awesome we are. I feel that we can't speak of it, almost, not because it's not something to talk about, because it's so hard to imagine
Hmm.
how expansive our soul is. I can't even say the word large or huge or gigantic, because those aren't big enough. It's expansive beyond our imagination. That's how I see
Hmm.
ourselves. Our souls are at that level of Mother Earth.
Yeah, I love it. And there's also a reason why Shiloh always invites us to paint large because
Yes.
we want that perspective of our archetypes to be bigger than life. Like we see our paintings, and we open them as portals and we see them as bigger than us. Like they become the landscape and they become the solar system. They become everything. So I love that because it actually gives you that ability to imagine yourself and stretch yourself outside of the constraints of this form that we're taking because the mind can actually create what it wants. So I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. You know, Barbara, it has been amazing. It has been amazing. I want to invite you, if you had one gem to offer our viewers, what would that be?
Take a breath. Allow yourself to tap in to that soul space, that heart soul space. It's deep within you, it exists there. Sometimes you have to really take a breath and kind of silence the sounds or add some sounds so you're not distracted, but feel into that potential and own it. Just love it so much, because it is there for you. It is there for each and every one of you.
Oh, thank you. That is such a blessing. And also, Barbara has been gracious enough to offer anyone who likes. She offering a free ebook called "Activate Your Knowingness in Deeper Ways." So the link will be shared in the comments, and that is her offering for joining us. And that way, you can also get to know a little bit more about Barbara and her work, and see if you want to spend some time becoming you.
Becoming You. You just check it out at becomingyouart.com. It'll pop right up and you can sign up for it there. And we use metacognitive drawing. It's a little bit long, but it's really about you exploring you. And I'm all for that. And very much here to support you in doing that.
Oh, thank you so much for your generosity and love, Barbara. My heart is full. I'm grateful for our sisterhood. Uh, I'm glad I invited you because we met for the first time just a few weeks ago at Sonoma when we went
Mhm.
for the Living the Truth cinema events, and we didn't even take a picture. We were so just like
Ding! We're
awestruck.
just like,
Yeah, we were just so awestruck with all the activities and the movie, screenings, and just the beauty of being in Alice and Pratiba's um presence, and the impact that just witnessing those films left and made on our hearts, and we just forgot to take a photograph.
I
So I'm
know.
so glad because now we are on the same screen and this is going to be evergreen. So I love it.
That's right. That's right. Yep. So we are here together, even if it's just by red thread.
Well, we are always together because we know that this right here, there is no separation. We are in the same space,
That's
heart
right.
space. So
That's right.
thank you so much for sharing your heart with our viewers and for all you do in the community as well, and for the work that you've chosen to carry and bring into the world. I want to thank you, my sister.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This was a lot of fun, and I knew it would be. Yeah, and it's a lovely opportunity to share. So I really
Hmm.
appreciate that.
Yeah. So our viewers, we also have I hope that you'll choose to join us for Arts of Justice, the day-long painting experience on July 11th, and it's a virtual class. So we look forward to you joining us, and is co-sponsored by the Sacred Echoes of the Well Bywalk membership. We also have our Pop Open Studio party happening this Friday on June 30th at 12 to 3. Now, I know that most of we have a lot of community members and membership that will be in Legend that time, but we will still be holding space for those who are not in Legend. Um, and for those who are taking the Legend class, if you want to come integrate and shake it all out, because I know that they're gonna leave you rattled. I know that all of this is gonna do. You're gonna need somewhere to shake it out. So, consider joining us. During the end of right after your Legend course ends, and we'll be there to greet you so we can dance it out and integrate all the beautiful teachings that we're gonna be exploring. And these are membership benefits. The Pop Open Studio Party is a benefit, a member benefit. So if you're not a member and want to explore membership, then you can just go to imusea.org /memberships. And we start at artist level, which is $10 a month. And as you can see from all that we're sharing, there's so many benefits that you get for those $10. It's just amazing, and you get to be self-expressed, share the share with your family, share with your friends. Everyone should be self-expressed, and this is why we do what we do, because creativity is our birthright. So yeah, it's for everyone, and we want everyone to have a space and a place that they can be themselves and stand in their identity and bring their work and love into the world and in a beautiful way. So, yeah, we'll see you there. And with that, we will say farewell for now. You are held, you are loved, you are seen and witnessed. Thank you for witnessing us. Thank you for being you. And thank you for always having love at the center of everything you do. Bye for now.
Bye.